It's Monday, we're live, and it is halfway through January of 2024 already. I cannot believe it. Has it snuck up on anyone else? Seriously, it just snuck up on me. Today, I want to talk about something that popped up a couple of weeks ago that I was like, wow, that really worked. Okay. So my kids and I were having a discussion about what we feed our soul matters. That we feed our soul, we feed our body 3 times a day or more with snacks. And let's face it, lots of snacks. We feed our spirit gets fed when we're, on Sunday or any of that time. A lot of my spiritual food comes outside. I mean, our church is wonderful and I get fed at church, but it's a daily thing for me. But also, our soul is getting fed 24 hours a day. It doesn't sleep. And what we feed ourselves by what we think, what we listen to, what we watch, what we say, what we believe, who we're hanging around, all these things that we're inputting all the time is feeding our soul and forming our soul. And so, having this discussion with our kids, and we're talking about making wise choices and things that will feed our soul and things that will feed our soul in the positive way that we want to be fed and grow that way, or things that will feed our soul in the negative. And I talked about, then it kind of jumped into the topic of sowing and reaping. What we sow, we reap, right? And what we sow will grow. So sowing like a little tiny little mustard seed can grow into a giant bush, right? And this is a kingdom principle. This is something that my kids and I talked about probably a year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago. And I really dove into it with them, really wanted them to grasp this kingdom concept about sowing and reaping and how important it is. And so I remember having, well, back to the conversation about feeding our soul. So I start talking about remember what we sow will grow, right? And what we water, and the sowing and reaping. And my little one, my 5-year-old, goes, "Oh, Mom, sowing and reaping! I remember this. I remember. Do you remember when you taught us this in bed that night?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do remember." So a little less than a year ago, I think it was, we were, or I the topic came up about sowing and reaping, and I really dove in deep with my 2 younger kiddos. I was putting to bed my little girl and my son, and we really dug into this topic, and it was a great discussion. And the neast morning, Holy Spirit reminded me of this discussion, how good it was. It was really timely for our family. It was a kingdom principle I really wanted our kids to grasp, really get and start implementing in their life. And my oldest daughter was not part of that conversation. And so that morning, Holy Spirit reminded me, oh, remember, basically get your oldest daughter in on this conversation too. And instead of me just redoing the whole conversation with her, I had my younger 2 kids teach her. I had them teach her everything that we had talked about the night before. And some of it I prompted a little bit, and I'm like, oh, and asked a question so that they could answer that and teach her about that part of it. And it was great. It was a great, they really remembered it, got it. And so throughout the year, I've been able to be like, hey, remember sowing and reaping, or I could say what you sow will grow, and I could just say those couple of little things and they remember this conversation. And so I can it's just a quick little trigger. And so, but when my little one a couple of weeks ago, almost a year later, was like, yeah, Mom, remember the conversation? She really remembered it. And it popped into my mind suddenly. Imagine that. God does that all the time. Holy Spirit will pop things in, or get a light bulb moment, like a revelation. And I'm like, it's because she taught it. That's why she owns this subject so well. She really internalized it and learned it on a deeper level. She's 5. Okay. She was probably 4 when I taught it, maybe just turned 5. Um, and, and so she got this at a deeper level. Of course, my son did too. And it was like, oh my gosh, wow. It's because they taught it. They really understood it. So this is my nugget not that other stuff I just talked about was bad, but it was a buildup to this. Okay, if there's a really amazing kingdom principle that you either think you really want your kids to know, or a topic that you really want to teach them, if Holy Spirit's really highlighting something for your family in a season and you really want your kids to get it, have them teach it. Okay, have them teach it. Now, we all know the like amazing part about teaching something is you get it on a deeper level. Like you have metacognitive function increases when you are teaching something rather than just sitting back and listening. So and also your brain files it away differently. It files it more, I'd say organized probably. And also it really like those main topics stick out because you've had to teach them. And you're especially if you are learning something like during learning it, those main things really stick out because you know you're going to have to like repeat them and understand them enough to like, repeat it. So if you can have your kids teach the concept instead of you beating a dead horse, like we used to say that. My poor mom, we'd be like, okay, you're beating a dead horse, because we were done listening. We basically thought we got the message and let's move on. And sometimes I find myself doing it too, because I'm like, no, I really want you to get this. I really want you to start applying this in your life. Like this is a big deal, right? And so I will go too far and I'll start beating a dead horse, as they say. So if you can instead have your kids teach it, they're going to understand it so much better than if you just keep at it, right? Like if you just keep going, keep talking about it, because you're afraid they aren't getting it at the level that you want them to, then have them teach it to you. So this can look like having them teach a sibling, like mine did, right? Have them teach dad when he gets home from work. Have them teach grandma or grandpa, give them a phone call and be like, hey, I want to teach you something, right? Grandma and grandpa would love that, I'm sure, in most families. Uh, or have them teach it back to you. Be like, okay, so what did you learn, right? Set up a whiteboard and have them teach it to you. Set up a game. Have them, when they can jump to the next couch cushion when they have answered this question or taught you about this, taught you back, right? This thing about this thing. Maybe do it during a fun snack time. Like you can like strawberries or something, like dip the strawberries in the chocolate, and then you can have the next one when you teach me the next part of this or whatever it is. Like make it fun. But man, if you can get your kids to teach it, they're going to own that information and they're going to it's going to become theirs, and they'll understand it on a deeper level. And so if it's something that you really want them to grasp, especially a kingdom principle that you just really want them to understand going into the world, then I think that's a fun, great way to help them grasp it on a deeper level. So there you go. There's your little nugget for this week. So let me know in the comments. Have you done this before with your kids? Do you want to do this? Does this sound appealing? Have you noticed this happen before? What is your plan to implement this week with your kids? What kingdom principle do you want them to learn? And that you can kind of set up a little teaching time, like a reteaching time for your kids, So let me know. And I think that's it for this week. I don't really have any other announcements. I do have something launching, my brand new ebook launching. I didn't get it out over the holidays, and you know what? It's because you'll probably never ever, I don't want to say never ever, but it's going to be rare that you actually see me launch things, put things on sale during any holiday, because you want to know why? I'm a mom and I do the holidays in this house, as I'm sure you do too. And I want to be present during those times. I want to be present during the holidays. And I love holidays. So I want to be present with my kids during that time. So you probably will never see me post things. You'll never see me launch anything. You're just like, I go pretty silent around holidays where a lot of people like ramp up and use that. Like you probably won't ever really see me do that. So my birthday is next week. So maybe I'll launch it for my birthday because that's a little different. I won't be executing things for my birthday. So look for that. We'll have a Monday live before my birthday. And so next week I will let you know about that, how we're doing in that category. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful week until then. And go have your kids teach something. Experiment with me, right? See if this really works. It's worked for us, and I kind of want to try it out again on a different topic. So I'll be doing it with you this week, and we'll have fun. We'll have fun together. Have fun with our kiddos and make it fun. And then also, Did you know when kids are having fun, they store things in a different part of their brain than when they're like bored and just having to memorize stuff. And they can recall it much faster. It's stored in a place that they can recall much faster when they're having fun rather than like, say, sitting in class and they have to memorize this thing for a test. Totally different part of the brain it's stored in. So if you can make it fun, triple points. Okay, I will see you next week and have a wonderful week. Happy Monday.